I'm Kim Somers Egelsee, and I totally live in my full positive power. Living in your full positive power is amazing. It's when you're just flowing. It's an exciting adventure. Living in your full positive power is when you take your essence and your heart's desires and your passions and you start taking action on them in large and small steps until you accomplish your dreams. Regardless of what other people think you should be doing, regardless of what you think you should be doing, it's what you really want in your heart and soul. You take action on it, and you're living in your full positive power. Living in your full positive power is having the nerve to be yourself. I like to say, clams, turtles, and snails have shells, humans do not, so take your shell off and have that nerve to be yourself. Being able to exude confidence in any interaction. Having open-mindedness and optimism. Being able to learn from everyone in every encounter. Sometimes you might learn on what you don't want to do, but you really truly can learn from everyone that you meet. Living in your full positive power is listening to your inner scale and using your intuition when you're making decisions. When you feel that vibe of saying yes or no to something based on integrity and compassion and kindness. And living in your full positive power is being around people that support, uplift, and encourage you. The people that soothe you and doing the same thing for them. I truly live in my full positive power today, but it wasn't always that way. There were certain incidents that happened in my life where I almost let my whole power go. I almost gave it away. I almost allowed that to happen. When I was 9 years old, I was a typical kid. I had tons of friends around the neighborhood and the community. I liked to put shows on for the neighbors. I had a clubhouse that my grandpa built me by hand, and we'd have meetings in the clubhouse and plan lemonade stands and typical 9-year-old things. And all of a sudden, I got attracted to being friends with a mean girl. You know, you guys probably know people that are drama chasers and drama creators. Those people that create problems so that they can solve them, and then they feel like they've accomplished something because they've solved their own problems. She was one of those. And I think coming from my normal, stable family upbringing, where there wasn't too much rebelliousness or drama, I was drawn to this. And I liked that feeling of excitement and rebelliousness. And so I remember I would stand by this mean girl and watch her bully kids. And I remember kind of, feeling uneasy inside, but at the same time, I was feeling a little thrill from it. We would do crazy things like egg people's mailboxes and run away, play ding-dong ditch, hang out with her rebellious sister and be around her while she's smoking cigarettes and hanging out with the bad kids. But like most mean girl, mean guy type relationships, it did go sour, and she turned on me. And one day I remember being by my house and about 20 kids in the neighborhood coming up to me with her and her saying, "Don't you know, none of these people like you anymore. They don't want to be your friend." And I just remember feeling totally shot down and running into my house and sobbing into my pillow for like 3 hours, feeling completely abandoned and alone. I had let them have my power. I had forgotten about my power. Another incident where I fully let my power go was in 6th grade. I was 11 years old, and the boys in the class decided we're going to line up all the girls in the class and rate them on how pretty they are. So they started doing it, and they got to me, and I ended up being last, which basically meant that they thought I was ugly. And I remember having this big lump in my throat and going like this, and putting this big fake smile on my face and getting through the rest of the day, just feeling like my self-esteem was gone. It had disappeared. I had no more confidence left. I took it so seriously, what they had said about me, that I went home and cried, just felt like I had no power left. And I remember going back to school wearing tons of makeup, inappropriately sexy clothes for such a young age, and even dyeing my hair platinum. And of course, that gave me attention and I felt validated. I felt like, ooh, now they're gonna think I'm pretty. Now they're gonna think that I'm enough. And all in all, still forgetting my power deep inside. I remember becoming a people pleaser and just hanging on to friends and becoming friends with people I didn't even really like, just so I'd have enough friends and I'd never feel abandoned again. That just wasn't the way to be living. The third incident was in high school. There was the cool, attractive, hot guy that everyone had a crush on, me included. I remember even naming my goldfish after this guy. I liked him so much. He finally liked me and asked me out, and I was like, oh my God, it's him. He's asking me out. I get to go out with this guy. I didn't even know anything about him. I said yes, because he was the guy. Pretty soon, maybe like 3 days later, I realized I had gotten myself into a big mess. He was a compulsive gambler, a compulsive liar, and extremely verbally abusive, calling me horrible names that I can't even mention out loud right now. And I still stayed with him. I kept going month after month until he had become my project. I think I was just trying to fix him. But one day, we went out for my birthday, and we went to this restaurant, and a guy started flirting with me. It wasn't my fault, but my boyfriend thought it was, and he grabbed me by the arm, pulled me into the car, and punched me in the face. And I just remember being totally shocked and reacting and slapping him back and jumping out of the car while it was moving and rolling out onto the wet grass. And I remember sobbing and walking home for 3 hours that night. And I remember as I'm walking going, I feel like I'm not even me anymore. What happened to that leader girl who would plan shows in the neighborhood that had full positive power? I feel like I'm living in a bad movie or a bad soap opera. Enough is enough. I remember thinking enough is enough. And even though he would say crazy things like, I'm gonna kill myself if you leave me, I realized I'm not responsible for him. He's not my project anymore, and I left him. I had started to get my full positive power back. How did I do that? Number one, I came to the realization that when we are born, all of us, when we are born, we have full positive power. We have zest, we have spirit, we have spunk, we have full power. But sometimes, for all of us, sometimes maybe a teacher's mean to us. Maybe our parents go through a divorce. Maybe we get into an abusive relationship. Maybe kids bully us. Maybe kids abandon us. And pretty soon the power gets covered up if we allow it to. And so what we have to do is dig down deep and start getting that power back and remembering who we truly are in our heart and soul. And that's what I had to do. Number two, I realized the power of choice. Humans have the power of choice. Animals do not. We're lucky. We have the power of choice. And I realized this is my fault. That stuff that happened to me at age 9 and age 11 and as a high school student, that was my choice. I was choosing to hang around the wrong people. And I realized that if I would just start getting in the habit of saying, who am I hanging out with every day? What am I choosing to do with my time? What attitude am I choosing to radiate out to others? What mood am I choosing to be in? What am I choosing? Getting in that habit of checking in with myself every day started changing my life. And it just became natural that I started making the right choices. And third and most importantly, what happened was I started to work on myself. At age 19, I was introduced to a motivational success speaker that's very well known named Jim Rohn. And he taught me how to do goal setting. And he taught me working harder on yourself than you do on your job, and that changed my life. And I started reading amazing books like Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn, books by Augmentino and John Maxwell, and slowly my life started to change better and better and better until I had my full positive power there, just as big as when I was born. And so what I want to give you tonight are 3 tips and tools on how you immediately can start living even more in your full positive power. Number 1, have friends and family and people around you that suit you. Support, uplift, and encourage you. If you take a look at those people and they're not doing those things, you need to think twice. And make sure you're doing that for them as well. Make sure you're radiating out compassion and kindness and giving and helping others, and you're going to get the same thing back in your life. Number 2, do something bold and out of your comfort zone. That's your full positive power. Let it out. Be daring. Be bold. Do something bold out of your comfort zone, and when you achieve it, pat yourself on the back and do something to celebrate. Because when you do that and you acknowledge it, you're training your mind to notice, and your mind is going to go, they did it, and now they can do something even bigger, and life becomes so much fun and an adventure, and you can't wait to wake up in the morning. And number 3, most important of all, positive communication. How you communicate to yourself and to others is huge. Just the words you use can change your whole life, your whole physiology, your whole health, your whole being, and can help you be in your full power. To give you an example, a lot of people will say, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. I have bills to pay, and I have this test due, and I have to do these projects, and people need me, I'm so overwhelmed. And their physiology is all broken, and they're not in their full power. But if you just shift it to positive communication and say, people need me, I make a difference in the world, I have lots of projects going on, life is amazing, I'm in demand. Your whole physiology changes. You're in your full power. Instead of saying, I'm so stressed, you can say, I am challenging myself to be even greater. I get through this, I can get through anything. Instead of, I'm anxious, you say, I'm anticipating amazing things. Instead of frustrated or irritated, I am fascinated and intrigued as to why this is happening, as to why this person is acting like this. And even if in your mind you're kind of not believing it, it adds humor and it adds that element of, curiosity, like why is this happening? And that's activating that full power. Now, most importantly, there is no such thing as failure. Failure is not even in your vocabulary. There's only feedback. There's only what can you do differently next time to make this a success. And so living in your positive power, living in your full positive power is the ideal way to live. It makes life fun. It makes life an adventure. It makes life extraordinary. I'm not promising that there's never going to be hardships or problems or tragedies when you're living this way, but it does make it easier and makes it easier just to flow right through. So clams, turtles, and snails have shells. Humans do not. Take yours off and have the nerve to be yourself and live in your full positive power. Thank you.